Nadine's very good, isn't she?
Yeah, and we're live now.
Hello.
So Nadine now knows that you know that she's
yes,
very good.
hello Nadine. I just seen your name check there.
So we've been in the green room for a little while and we're just having a chat. As everyone knows, I kind of get all my guests prepared and make sure we've got all the screen shares ready and everything so that we can properly show you everything that the guest has to offer. And today my lovely guest is Suzan Aral. Welcome, Suzan.
Hello.
Suzanne's been on before and we did have a little bit of feedback issues last time, and we had a little bit of Wi-Fi issues where she kept disappearing off the screen and leaving me alone.
Breaking you into the digital world there, Lesley.
Yeah, you were just getting me ready for my new live life.
Yeah.
Live life. So we're hoping today that the Wi-Fi is stable and all will be good. So lovely to see everyone and lots of people joining us live. Thank you. And hopefully we've got, it would appear that Facebook liked me again today, because yesterday and today they've decided to live stream, and that's good. They went off me for a couple of days and I don't quite know why, but anyway, who knows. We're back on. So anyone who's going to watch us on the Facebook live stream, please put your messages in the text there. And I've got it right here. So I'll be watching you, and I can see Mary Beanie is on already. And so I'll be watching and making sure that I see any messages that come up there. So you can ask any questions you wish to there. And obviously you guys all know, who are watching us live on Crowdcast, you've got the ask a question box down in the bottom here. So please do ask us lots of questions, because that always, we're here to help you to learn and to understand and to get more information, and just generally have a really lovely time for about, well, we did say originally half an hour, but it does seem to be becoming a bit of an hour thing.
Yeah.
I'm becoming a bit of it's like, I do like to chat. I do love a chat. What can I say? It doesn't make me a bad person. I do love a chat.
No comment.
I love a chat and a coffee. What can I say? So I've had the coffee. Now we're going to have the chat. So Suzan of Aral, etc. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to just show everyone your page in the magazine, just so that we can place you. Just takes me a couple of seconds to, there we go. So this is Suzanne's page in the magazine, Be Part of the Art. Now this is a new business that Suzanne has just launched. I think you were just about to go for it at the beginning of lockdown, weren't you?
Yes, funnily enough, and other things got in the way, so I've slightly rethought things, but yes, we've launched eventually.
We launched during lockdown,
yes.
And you're next to the lovely Bev Saunders of Edge Framing, so that's quite a good partnership as well.
Yes,
because your work does come framed.
Hello.
So that's Suzanne's page in the magazine, and as you all know, if you want to look at the magazine, you just go up onto the read at the top of the Pure website, click on the magazine, and you will arrive on this page. And look at that. What have we got there? Be part of the art. We're going to tell you that's a little treat for all of you coming up in a minute, but not yet. We're not going to tell you yet. So, Suzanne, tell us where it all started. Tell us how you ended up being a graphic designer and how you ended up working within this culture sector. I'd be really fascinated to hear. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I normally do, which is dip down to the side and give the speaker the screen so that you have the floor.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm unusual probably in being a creative who had an idea about the sector that they particularly wanted to work in from an early age. I was always interested in making things and sewing things and just generally being creative. But I think record covers, as with many people, got me interested in the graphics side. So when I was 14 and 15 and we had a work placement coming up, I was audacious enough to contact a studio in London and arrange for my work placement there while my friends were doing rather boring things in shops and hairdressers in Hastings. Got to meet a few pop stars, got to do a tiny bit of artwork, make a lot of coffees and hoover the floor. But it didn't put me off doing graphic design. So yeah, it was useful to have a foundation year. I'm not even sure if that still happens in many places now, but I'd already kind of decided. I think we're very lucky with the creative arts, with the sort of design and the arts in general. If you have a foundation year, that kind of just helps you explore the different mediums and the different directions you can go in. So I kind of, I suppose, had a line I was drawing myself a line already. I didn't end up working in the music industry, though, despite my many half terms spent at various design studios around what was Old Street then, but is now very trendy Shoreditch and Hoxton. Same area, different name and image for sure. Just as well my mother never knew what it was like then. I think she would definitely have been appalled to see the dodgy neighbourhood I was going to. So yes, that's kind of how I suppose my interest in graphics started. And I was always very fond of the square format. Funnily enough, we've come back to that with social media a lot now, haven't we? And some of the stuff I'm creating now is very much based around the square. So that's really how I got into graphics. I studied at Middlesex, what was Poly, and became university while I was there. Morphed, it changed in name only. I did a graphic information design course, which made sure I was well grounded in the typography and the content side of things, which at the time I found extremely, extremely tedious initially. As an idea, I wanted to get on, and I wanted to do illustration as well, and I'd really wanted to get into Central St Martin's, as with many of my friends at college. But actually, I was very pleased after the first year, and I appreciated the course and the extra year that I had there to spend exploring, I suppose, and working on more projects. And we had a year out where we were able to go and do work placements. And again, I made the most of that and went and worked in Hong Kong. Didn't finish my work placement, travelled for about a month around China. And then caught up on myself when I got back to London. So it was a good course in that it gave you the skills. I think the basics. They got you to do typesetting, and all the and look at type very closely, which is, when I do teaching now, I'm there's not always time to do that or the opportunity, but it's such an essential part, looking at the shapes and the forms of typography as much as what the words, what the content is very important when you're working on anything, whether it's a poster or something much smaller. So yeah, that was a good thing it turns out.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because lots of people, every time we're talking to people, the benefit of the art foundation is just becoming more and more important. That opportunity to explore, like Annie was saying yesterday about the atelier, going and working under an artist. And you're today saying, about going and doing the work. To these days, it's called a work placement, isn't it? And you go into the workplace and you discover what it's like, and that's invaluable. Yeah,
I think it's much harder now, but including my sons, I'm always telling all the students and so on, the young people that I know, that while you're still studying, whether it's at school or at college, make those contacts if you're interested in anything, whether it's a creative sector or not, because people appreciate your interest, even if it's for an interview for a school magazine. Make an excuse up if you want to find out a bit more about somebody and what they do, to help you form your idea of where you might want to go with your studies and your career in the future. It's hard to know, so you can only win by speaking to people, really. So, even if I work remotely with students, I always try and accommodate people who are keen to do a bit of work experience where I can. It's not always possible, but
I say to my kids, the answer's no until you've actually asked it. So what's the worst that it could be? It just stays at no, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So, what have you got to lose? And do it when you're still studying, whether as early as school. I was I was still 15 when I first went and did my work placements, and they were invaluable. Definitely.
And they've got absolutely nothing to lose from asking. And I don't think it matters whether you're a student or whether you're mid-career, wherever you are. I think you can ask the question. The worst that can happen is that someone says no.
Exactly. But when you're close to graduating, people view you very differently because you're after something so much more clearly, a job. So immediately doors tend to be shut much more often. So I think if you can make those connections, for work in the future, obviously that's useful, but also just to help yourself find your place in a particular sector and find your thing. I think.
So what took you into the culture? You said about the pop records, and then you've travelled out to.
I didn't follow that route, having tested the water. I've always been interested in history and the culture of different particular parts of the world. I suppose I grew up in two countries. I'm half Turkish, although I was born in Hastings. I've lived and grown up in both countries fairly equally, I think, on and off. We've moved back and forth. And so that's always, I suppose, given me an interest in the contrasting history and culture of the two different places I belong to. And museums have always been a particular passion of mine. So I worked for a little while when in the UK, spent 4 or 5 years in Turkey soon after I graduated, working much more in the publishing sector, which again was a great learning curve. But when I moved back to the UK again after that, I worked for a short time with BBC in the education department, which was interesting, working on publicity campaigns for schools and the school support, something I think that's still going now, the bite-sized campaigns and so on. So all of that was pre-digital and digital format. And then after that worked in initially as an employee and then as a partner of a small studio in Shoreditch, where we worked with people like English Heritage, Sotheby's. We used to do their very glamorous art at auction book every year. It was their sort of coffee table book of their best sales. And then in contrast, we'd also worked with a lot of local artists and sort of, I don't know if you know Hidden Art, but they were the pioneers of open studios in this country, really.
Oh, we'll have to look them up.
Yeah, it's no longer running. They lost their funding pretty much. They have a presence, but not as open studios, I believe. And they used to do wonderful training opportunities and make connections with industry between the creatives, from furniture makers to artists and illustrators and glass, etc., etc. It was lovely to work with them every year, and we did a map and all of the publicity campaigns for them. So I've always enjoyed that mix and enjoying working on the content itself rather than just as a designer creating something that looks nice and communicates a message. For me, I think I've always chosen the less commercial, shall we say, route, and I've been fortunate enough to work on lots of projects where. So
shall we have a look at some? Let's have a look at some of your projects, because
yes. Okay.
I think Suzanne sent me earlier this beautifully designed, I mean, if this is anything to go by, the most beautifully designed PDF of some past work that she's done. So I think I'll share the screen.
Not specially made for you, I'm afraid, Lesley. That's just a presentation.
Not specially made for me? Really? Right, let's pop that up and then you can talk us through some of these projects. So I'm sure people are absolutely keen to have a look at some of the work. So these first ones are British Museum.
Yes, so these are projects I did while I was still based in Shoreditch many moons ago now, when we worked regularly with the British Museum, and the map is a particular favourite of mine. When I last visited the museum, I think they were still using that essentially with the updated plans in place. So that was rather lovely that we developed that so many years ago, and I created that design for them, and it's, I don't know how many millions of people it's probably guided around the museum.
That's marvellous. And I love to see the fact that you've got your signature orange on.
Yes.
Today's colour, people. So it was red, the day before was yellow. Today's signature colour is orange.
Yeah, well, I might have to claim another colour in a minute, but
okay.
Orange I definitely won't let go of.
Orange is your colour. So that's the British Museum. And then these are, is this quite...
These are some recent projects, yes. So a lot of the clients I have are in the museum sector these days, and certainly in the creative sector. As a graphic designer, I do work with often the education departments of museums. So this is for the Royal Hospital Chelsea, and they wanted a couple of family trails with stickers. So it
With
was extra
stickers.
fun. Yes, their funding ran to doing stickers as well, which was wonderful because
Do you hand draw? Do you hand draw these people? Because I love this guy.
These days, I try and make some time for hand drawing, pencil drawing, but not for my commercial work, not for my practice as Aral, etc. So these are digitally drawn. They're hand drawn, but digitally drawn.
Right. So you use a
hand drawn digitally.
You use a pen on the screen.
Yes, yes. I have a graphics pad that I use. And
he's
often use a program called Illustrator, and if not Photoshop, which you'll know of.
He looks very naughty, doesn't he?
Yes, well, he's trying to claim back his crown there.
He's trying to get his crown
back. Cheeky, but they went with that, which was nice.
I love it. I think it's very evocative. So, and then I'm particularly fond of this one.
Yes,
I worked on this project with Suzanne a few years ago when we were doing for the 950th anniversary of the Battle of Hastings. And so this was a project that was funded by the Arts Council. So I know this one quite well. And that was completely funded by the Arts Council. And it's great that those books are being sold.
That was a lovely project. Yeah, it was nice.
Completely
nice to do something local.
Yeah, community led as well. So all the information came from the community, which was great. And circus, who doesn't love a circus?
Well, yes. This is a project that was the year before last, I believe now. I've lost track. Somebody I know who used to work in the museum sector also had a great passion for circus, all things circus. And it was essentially the 250th anniversary of the official start of circus, where somebody drew a circle in the sand just south of where now the Houses of Parliament stand, I believe. And they collected money from the audience as they performed on horseback and had various other acts perform within this ring. So that is sort of counted as the start of circus in this country. And it was an umbrella event that pulled together all the different circus acts, large and small, in the UK over that year. It was wonderful. I got to very few of them, unfortunately. There were so many. There were even some that were linked in internationally, and the logos you can see was projected onto castles, and I think even in Dubai there were some events that linked in. It was rather nice to see the branding everywhere. Yeah,
very international, Suzan Aral. I love that.
And the branding for that I worked on with Peter Blake, which was rather nice. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet him in person, but he created the imagery, and I worked on the typography afterwards. So
these pictures, like they go.
One of his creations, yes.
Oh, wow, cool. And then we've got the Studio Collective.
There's another museum I work for, but on a very different approach and a different project. They have the Studio Collective, where they have community-led project where they work on themes, and then based around the collection, and for the Horniman Museum, and create exhibitions over the last couple of years. It's a new project, so I've been working with them on that to create something that marks it and records it, because it's a little bit more ephemeral, the project, once it's over.
The blue's creeping in now. It's coming in. And then something else quite local that you did. We've got a bit of yellow.
Another local project. Well, I'm also very fond of the yellow. Yes, this is another local project, but quite different from the battle project. So this was a series of publicity campaigns over 4 years. I think I did the promotions for the Hastings International Piano Concerto Competition. I said that in one go.
You did, really well done.
And the illustrations are also mine. We decided that there's something that was a local theme and quite bold and bright, and that would appeal to a wider audience than perhaps a more traditional concerto audience.
It looks very
well, and they were very eye-catching and worked quite well over that period of time. So
I see the Pier on there, and you actually worked on the Pier project as well, didn't you?
Yes, I worked with the Pier a lot as well on when they were funded as a charity. Sadly, no more.
So we'll stop sharing that screen now, and it'd be really interesting for you to tell us about this Bluebird. I can't even say it.
So they can. Bluebird. Yes,
Bluebird
that's my other
design.
strand of business that I've launched despite lockdown, and there are various strands to it, but it's something I've always been very fond of as a silhouette. Silhouettes are just wonderful. I think they're timeless and they're so versatile, and when they're a particular, portrait silhouettes in particular, I think they're a very personal and yet iconic way of representing a person. Then it's not at all the same as having a photo taken. So, people often hate having their photographs taken, but would quite like to have a portrait of themselves or them with their partner or their children. And the silhouette is such a wonderful way of overcoming that, because it's reducing you to quite a graphic image. And as I said, it's a timeless thing. It has that appeal.
Where did you first get the idea for that?
Oh, I don't know. I think some years ago I did a few pictures for some very close friends, as we all had our significant birthdays in the
I was going to say significant then. I was going to add
not
that
many years ago, actually. And I think from there that kind of just gelled that idea a little more. So I've been kind of developing that since, and I've worked with some schools looking at graduation portraits as silhouette as well, because that's often a very nice way of marking a student's achievement. So they have lots of applications, and there are people who are marking their engagement or their wedding, and to the portrait of the couple together as a silhouette is such a strong thing.
So I'm just going to share the website so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah,
this is the new business that Suzanne has just launched during lockdown. Proud of you.
Despite lockdown.
Despite lockdown. So let's pop this up, and so people can see what we're talking about. It'll come up in a second.
So if you, just scroll on the main images, then
there we are. So this is the site, and
if you go to the friendship groups, you could have
friendship groups. Okay, there we go. So is that the one that you did of your friends?
Something along those lines, yes. It's a slightly edited version, as I wanted it to work well on the website, and the format's slightly different.
Yeah, and this is where the blue comes in again.
I just love working on silhouette portraits. I think, obviously everyone is different, clearly.
I can see which one's you. I wonder if everyone else can see.
We'll skim over that one. But, it's really lovely to be able to include little details. So, in fact, the stripy top works so well, or somebody's collar, or a little detail of jewellery.
This little whoosh of the hair.
Yeah, and if someone is a musician, they could be holding the musician, their instrument of choice. If they often wear a hat, that could be included. I mean, they just work so well, and they could be much more complex, obviously. If you wanted them to be in a particular setting, develop the setting of the portrait a little more, and include a hint of background or surroundings. There are numerous things that can be included to make it a personal.
You've got pop stars here. What does that look like? I'm going to have a look at
Annie Catford's comments. No, we could have a dotted line down the middle, perhaps.
so this page says pop stars. Are these real pop stars?
No, but it's just showing to the very poppy colours. I rather love pop art, and so it's slightly inspired by that, and the colour palette can be a little more exotic.
Special day. Oh, look at that one.
Yes, or they could be a lot more romantic, I think. So
celebration. So that's the one I really love.
Yeah, that's just such a nice way. Yeah, I mean, they work so well. I don't know if you can see that very well without reflection, but I do have that one framed, actually. I'm very fond of that.
Oh yeah, hang on a minute. Let's bring you back up, and we'll take the screen back down.
So that's super. Is that reflecting, or is that?
No. That's, if you keep it on the slight turn, that's it. Perfect, like that.
So they work so nicely at a relatively small size as well, I think, especially if you wanted a series. Just working on one of some siblings, actually, they work nicely together.
Cheekily, what price point are we looking at for something like that?
The smallest ones, just unframed, would be from £100. But I think if it was a number of people, I'd want to know what the context was and how you wanted them to work as a composition, I think. So if we're talking about family groups,
yes,
that's another one I've just done for a couple and their daughter.
And do they send you the photographs? Is that how it works?
Yes, so it's quite easy. I mean, for smaller groups and individuals, I get people to send photographs from their smartphone. I have a little graphic I send people just to remind them that the angle that they need to take the picture from, and the type of lighting and the background. But it doesn't have to be a brilliant photo as long as you're visible and you're at the correct angle. That bit's quite easily solved for larger groups. So with schools, or with wedding groups, or if it was a large family tree, which I'm just speaking to you about at the moment, that I can't wait to do. I would send a photographer to do that. In fact, somebody Caitlin Locke, who's a wonderful local photographer,
she does all the pure photography.
So she would go and take all the photographs for me to make sure that they were top notch, and we were able to work easily from them clearly.
That sounds amazing, a family tree. I'm just thinking in my head, I've got this whole vision of a wedding scene now. Annie, do you correct double chins?
Yes,
I'm sure she will do anything.
Absolutely, yes. Do anything for money.
It's like Photoshop.
Well, you've got to you get to approve it. We have color palettes that you can look at, and styles of background, so that we have an idea of what it is you're after, and then we send a PDF out for you to decide exactly, with a little bit of color either way for options.
I love that. Well, actually, what Suzanne's done is she's given all of you who are watching today, so all everyone who's watching on Facebook and everyone who's watching here live on Crowdcast, and anyone who watches on the video afterwards, I think I have to give that disclaimer, don't I, that they do on the TV. You've got 5 days from today. If you're watching this on catch up, you need to know that we are currently the 3rd of September.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got till the 8th of September. So if you're watching this on catch up and it's after the 8th of September, you've missed it. Sorry. So don't participate, because your votes will be counted, but you may not be included in the draw, etc. So I've done the disclaimer, Suzanne. We're okay. We won't get sued.
Well, I can.
So what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to share the screen again with and this is it on. There we go. So let me put that up. I'll put this up as large. I'll let this have the whole screen for a moment. So you guys who are watching us today have got a chance to be part of the art. So Suzanne is giving you an opportunity. If you like the post and comment on the post in Instagram or Twitter, Suzanne?
Yeah, I've got Instagram, Facebook and Twitter.
So Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, Bluebird _silhouette_art on all of them.
There, I've just posted them there we are. You.
Brilliant.
So they're slightly different, unfortunately.
There you go. So on Instagram, Facebook or Twitter,
please follow or like, depending, and make sure that you post a comment below, whichever one you're following me on, with Win Pure Portrait, #WinPurePortrait.
So could you put that in the sidebar as well?
I'll put it in there again. I had just posted it, but it's become separated, so I'll do another one.
So if we pop in there, you have to comment Win Pure Portrait.
Yeah.
And is that?
It's in that bit of
text. You've put Win a Silhouette Portrait. The portrait can be someone of your choice, and it's #Win Pure Portrait. It doesn't have
to be of you. It can be someone you nominate.
Brilliant.
I don't mind who it is. It could be a hero, I suppose, or as long as you can get a side view photograph for me to work from.
So is there any, that's raised an interesting question in my mind. Is there any copyright issues with that? Because obviously if you were using a photograph of someone who, it's not your photograph and it's not your image, ordinarily you'd be worrying about copyright, etc. Is there any copyright issues with this?
As far as I know, not. So if it was something that was intellectual property, so say the logo of the London Underground, I have come across issues with Transport for London, for example, who look after that. Even if you illustrate that logo, it can be an issue for them. You could probably argue your case, but I think where it comes to people's faces, as long as you're not reproducing somebody's photograph, because obviously that would be their work, and you're reinterpreting it as art. I think
that's something that most artists, think about over the, especially those that do collage, like Annie was doing yesterday. I know there is the, the rules that you have to apply to, that it has to be changed by a significant amount. You can't use somebody else's
and if
work.
anybody knows any differently, please let me know.
Yes, and please let Suzanne know, because that's a question that popped into my mind. We always have to be cautious about all the rules and regulations, and you don't want to ever infringe someone's intellectual property, because we don't want them to infringe ours either. We don't want them to steal our work, but we don't mind a bit of borrowing, and as long as they credit us, and then we're okay. But blatantly using somebody else's work. So I'm interested in that. But as you say, I think
that's how I understand it. And I've always been very cautious. Obviously, we're working with people like Sotheby's and the British Museum and so on. In the past, you have to be very careful about crediting photographs accurately.
I know when I worked at Coca-Cola, there was literally points on it where people couldn't use it, and there were points that if you didn't get the sizing correct, you'd be sued, and no one wants to go there.
You should not be cropping people's artworks if it's a piece of art.
Absolutely.
You should not crop it without saying that it's a detail.
Yes.
Or
and
preferably asking permission.
Absolutely. There is a very good story that I think I've told in previous crowdcasts about the first time I did a brochure and someone cropped an image, and I nearly had a heart attack on the spot when I realised what they'd done, and I had to get the whole thing reprinted, thankfully. Before anyone knew, before anyone saw it. So no, that's brilliant. So you've all got, everyone who's watching has got a chance to win one of these portraits. I'm definitely going to do it, because I've had my portrait done, but it was a long time ago, the silhouette portrait, and it's really cool, and we've still got it. It was super cool, but it was black, and I actually love the idea of it being on the background.
Colours of your choice, Lesley. Perhaps what are your colours or colour? What's your main colour?
I like white, don't I? It's not going to work, is it?
White, black and white. Well, actually, that could work quite well. That could
be quite an interesting.
It could be embossed. I could have a think about that. Actually, there's
I think that's great, Sophie. Sophie's just said in the side here, I always say treat others how you wish to be treated. Give credit where it's due, and absolutely, that's 100% the right thing in life. Just generally in life.
Yeah, not just in silhouettes.
In everything in life, treat others how you would like to be treated, and how you think they would like to be treated as well. I think that's, extend that slightly more and think how they would like to be treated as well, and then treat them that way, because that's respectful. So that's brilliant. We've got a chance to win one, but if we don't get one, then we could always come to you, and if we've got a birthday celebration,
I'm always happy to talk to people about what they have in mind. You might decide it's not for you. You might decide you want to extend it into the whole family tree.
Or all your contact details are in the magazine, or they can contact you through the website, which was bluebirddesign.uk, and you've got Instagram and Facebook, as you say, and Twitter, so everyone can direct message you that way. And as I say, and anyone else, you can go onto the Pure Read page and see all Suzanne's details in the magazine as well. So I hope you get lots of, because that's so exciting, and hopefully the schools will be back and you'll be able to contact the schools, because that was the avenue you were going down, wasn't it?
Well, initially it was I was going to work with schools, and they were in such a difficult place after everything that happened, that's partly why I thought perhaps initially that I would need to rethink my launch of the business, because they were quite geared up for commissioning a whole year group as their gift at graduation. And a couple of cases, for example, they had to completely rethink that. Students were not in the summer term. There was no graduation as such. It was done very much remotely. long distance in many cases. And I think they're still probably, even at this stage, wondering how many students might be coming back when it's the private sector, the public schools in particular.
A lot of them have gone back today. And I think, the majority of children have gone back. So, but that just shows you, you've just got to be resilient, haven't you? It's not the end of, you had a brand new concept of a business, which literally ceased on that day that,
And the same with the wedding sector. We were geared up to do a show in spring, a couple of shows. And obviously they're just starting up again. But in the meantime, people have cancelled or postponed their weddings and their plans until they know how the land lies a little more. So it's strange how things can change so instantly.
But now you've actually grown that business opportunity by having to find other things now.
It's a very flexible medium, and absolutely. As I said, family trees are something I really want to extend, because visually they're very different and they work quite well, I think, at a much smaller size, with an individual or a family group of 2 or 3, perhaps 4, depending on the colour usage. They can go quite large and work really well as a nice piece of almost abstract, just very simple colour palette, abstract graphic. But with family trees, you kind of want to sort of go between the traditional format and the more contemporary, I think. And on a smaller scale, that tends to be my instinct. And each one will look different. You can't go back many generations because you really do need that side view to work from, but it's just such a nice thing to do, and you can cover 2-3 generations.
Can you on like Adobe or something turn a photograph to see how it would look? I don't know whether you can do that.
Well, I'm sure if people were happy to interpret somewhat what resources, if it's someone who's passed and they still wanted to include them in a family portrait or a family tree, and if they were happy to for me to work on it and do some interpreting, because obviously you don't have a very clear shot, but it is hard to know exactly and be true, then yes, that can be done.
It sounds like those flappers and everything with their lovely hair and would be absolutely brilliant, wouldn't they? The 1920s, my great grandma. My great grandma in 1920s. I've got some amazing photographs, but they're all face on. So as you say, can you flip them? So
that's the case for stylizing a bit more. You bring in the 20s style a little bit more and simplify, and it would be wonderful. I could show you that picture. I'd love to see that.
I will go and get you that.
I'll give it a go.
One of my grandma also in her wedding dress, and it's like a really long antique lace veil, and everything is very flapperish. It's all very straight. I think they would be amazing. Artistic. You have artistic license, don't you?
Yes. I think with weddings especially, if people want to have something that's very much geared to the wedding, the moment, the wedding itself, rather than the couple, and make it more specific, it would be wonderful to introduce the lace, or the train, or a detail, a bustle, a bouquet. I mean, that's all wonderful stuff to work with visually, and things like silhouettes. So
opportunity of a business that, you've invented out of your head. You've had to already pivot it before it even launched. You had to pivot it into a different.
To be flexible, isn't it, Lesley?
Absolutely.
As you've done with Pure Arts.
Well, I mean, that's it. I always, and I know, we've been around working together long enough. It's always an opportunity. There's always an opportunity within all of these moments, and I'm very proud of the way you've approached that. So you can see Suzanne's website. It says down here, visit Suzanne's website at the bottom of the screen. Not for you guys on Facebook, sorry, but you can. We'll pop the link in afterwards so you can see it. But at the bottom on Crowdcast, everyone can see Suzanne's website, so you can go have a look there. And we've got some questions. Love a question. So let's see what everyone's asking us. So, first of all, from Sophie.
Oh, yeah, punks, please.
Do you use punks and piercings and amazing hair? Yeah. Oh, don't. Paul my husband revealed a terrible story about the fact that I was a punk once. No one's meant to know that. It's meant to be a secret. I'm sure I've got at least one picture of me.
I want to see that picture.
I've got one picture of me with a purple Mohican somewhere. I'll try and find it.
Now that would be a silhouette and a half, wouldn't it? I think that would have to be purple, definitely, in that case.
I know, but no one can believe that now because, you know, I look all very like normal and proper. What do you use to create your drawings, illustrations, as in computer programs, etc.? Sophie is asking.
I tend to use Illustrator because that works very well for graphic shapes, but I do also then work on it in Photoshop to introduce much more details. So things like flicks of hair, texture, where there is a grainier brush stroke, all those sorts of details I will use Photoshop for. So it's a combination. It depends, really. And I wouldn't be adverse to including hand-drawn pencil work as well. It rather depends on what's required.
Yeah, so Illustrator and
Photoshop
essentially are the two programs that you're using. And that pen you were saying?
Yes, my graphics pen, and I have a pad.
Have you got? Oh, look.
Hang on. There we go.
And there it is. So that's
the other side even.
That's the graphics pad.
Slightly worn in the middle.
I've never seen one of those. That's amazing.
They're great until your tendons protest.
Oh.
It's a very detailed work you end up doing, and it does give you RSI if you get too carried away.
Yeah, don't do that.
No.
So Peter Patterson is asking, do you know Charles Burns? Charles Burns?
I'm afraid I don't.
No. I think there's a link up in the side there. There you are, roving artist. I was saying to Suzanne that actually when we had a significant birthday, my mother-in-law's significant birthday some years ago, we actually employed someone to come, and they came with scissors.
Yeah, there is somebody, I don't know his name, I'm afraid. I don't know if it's the same person who does the most amazing traditional on-the-spot hand-cut paper silhouettes, which is just fantastic. I think actually talking paper silhouettes, the other thing that probably has been in the back of my mind all these years is many years ago when I was probably still in primary school in Turkey, a circus came to town, and it was a Chinese circus, which was pretty unusual and very exciting. And at the end of it, they were giving out little tiny envelopes of even tinier paper cuts of the different circus acts. So there were plate jugglers and tightrope walkers, all cut out of different coloured tissue paper. And I still have that somewhere. But they're just the most fantastic thing. And I've always loved that simplified thing. It's so delicate and so bold at the same time, you know, very striking. Yeah, shame I can't show you those, but they would be quite hard to hold up, I think, to the camera.
I think Annie was saying yesterday she's going smaller. So hopefully she's getting lots of inspiration. She might get her scissors out and start making little tiny portraits as well. So Griselda's asking a question here. Where were the exhibitions going to be? Did you say Spain in a gallery and museum? What were you going to show?
This is before the lockdown thing. Was this about?
Yeah.
There wasn't an exhibition as such. If you were referring to the wedding fairs, there looking at that specific sector, that's the best way to connect with couples who are planning their wedding for the next year, for the same year, for 3 years in advance sometimes. Very organised ones. So yes, they were locally in East Sussex, but I have got one I'm going to be at, hopefully in Hesmonceau in October.
Okay.
So I will put it on the website and social media as it's confirmed.
Yeah, so anyone who's local to here and you're interested, then you'll be.
It's a wonderful setting.
Yes,
you get to walk across a drawbridge. Into a castle. Yes.
And anything else on the cards for you? So what else is coming up for Suzanne, do you think? As we seem to be fairly safely down in the southeast here, easing out of lockdown. We've been very fortunate, I think, that we haven't had any peaks, any spikes here. So what's on the cards for you apart from that?
Well, the two businesses are running parallel, so I'm doing the portraits and developing that and making more connections. I've been very fortunate that although the museums have all been shut, many are still closed and possibly for the foreseeable future. I've still been very busy in that sector, so I had a big project on for Fulham Palace. I could give you a preview. It's not actually officially been launched, but I think I can show you the cover here.
Oh,
so
wow.
this is a very different project again. Yes, there's my spare copies. So this was a project that I worked on with a couple of other local creatives that I brought in for the project. Joe Williamson, who's an illustrator who lives locally, and Imogen White, who is an author of children's books in her own right as well. Fulham Palace were wanting to tell the story of the palace through various different little snippets of history. So we developed the story in the book, and I pulled it all together basically, and art directed it, and that was a wonderful project and kept us very busy and amused and distracted, which was lovely.
Right through lockdown.
Yes, and I'm also dabbling in import-export on the side. I've got very carried away with copper products, so I'm looking at lovely copper handles and things like that I've been designing, and sheepskin rugs. Watch this space, beautiful stripy sheepskin rugs. So you've been designing I'm keeping busy. That's more sort of a hobby that might well turn into a business too.
Goodness gracious, Suzan Aral, there's no stopping you. It seems to be that lockdown has been an absolute motivation and inspiration for you to just
it's not been quiet, let's put it like that.
Yeah, explore lots of different avenues. I'm loving the sound of the copper handles. They sound amazing.
Well, it's interesting. They're very of the moment now, although it's something that we were looking at with my husband to do last year as we were changing something in our kitchen. And I've always enjoyed having things made in Turkey. When you find the right craftsman, you can commission things beautifully, beautiful finish, and he's the same. So we just thought, well, we'll try this out, and then realized that lots of people who came around also thought the same thing. So it's kind of motivated us to think of it differently, and not just as for our kitchen drawers, but perhaps for that could be.
So you design them yourself, though?
Yes, we're looking at various door handles and cupboard and drawer handles and things like that. Well, but that's another story.
I bow down to you. Very impressive that there's no stopping you, even in a lockdown. You've actually made more work and
yes, so impressive. I haven't eased up. I've done the opposite of what I thought I might do, and it might be good to just take a moment. But no, I've not managed that. No.
I think you may have spent too long with me, Suzanne.
I don't know.
I'm going to apologise. I'm going to apologise in advance. I get motivate people to just come on, then we can do this. And I'm very proud of you. You've done really well. And I'm just super impressed with the Bluebird stuff. I think, to say that you were about to launch that and you had to change the entire business.
Well, yeah, the channel's certainly changed, and the contacts are still there, and what would have happened will hopefully still happen. It's just, the order of things has had to change. Yeah. The same with my museum work, for example. One of the big things that I do is a Museums and Heritage show, which is a very big thing internationally for the sector. So people who work within the museum sector, within museums themselves and suppliers, will visit Olympia every year during May usually. And this year's, of course, was cancelled, so everyone had geared up to that. And it's a good catching up point, and it reflects what's happening in the sector. There are a lot of seminars that people really count on to follow what the latest trends are, as well as commissioning work. So it's where I often catch up with clients I don't see all year, and that wasn't there this year at all. So it's
doesn't seem to have stopped you.
No, it doesn't seem to have done.
Doesn't seem to have been a problem, to be fair. And on a final note, is you've got to tell us what's on that poster behind you that's got the clock on it, because I've been watching that now for a while.
Oh gosh, is that even visible?
Yes.
Hang on, I think if I take my earphones off, I can probably just bring it over. 1 second. I can't explain it. Beautiful back, don't you think?
Lovely back. Look at that. Wow. So what's that? Tell us.
Does that show up even? I can't even tell you if that's on the screen.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay. Well,
looking at that behind your shoulder for a while now. I'm intrigued. What is that?
It's waiting to have its frame slightly repaired, which is why it's not on the wall. It's something that's rather faded and crumpled, but I'm very fond of, because it's something I nicked off a wall in northern China when I went traveling. And college, I mentioned I went traveling.
Yeah.
And it's a joyous representation of the many different peoples of China all smiling in harmony. And I find it particularly fascinating. Sorry, what was that?
Don't think they're doing that right now.
Well, I don't know that they were then, but they were on the poster. And it was just about I think it was a national census or a regional census. So, but I don't know if you can see that at the top it's in Chinese.
Yes.
And at the bottom it's in Arabic script, because the local people in that particular region are Uyghur and they use the Arabic script. They're Turkic speakers. So yeah, I've always found that fascinating. Unfortunately, it's in a very bad way, but I still love it. I'll just pop that down in one moment.
Absolutely beautiful, and it shows it's those things that we collect, isn't it? And we carry them with us in our life. And I can see how that's inspired some of your work. Just by us looking at your graphics and everything. That was a very early item that you collected. And you've kept it with you, and you can see how that's inspired.
I was very lucky I wasn't arrested, probably, in hindsight.
I
didn't worry about it at the time, but yeah,
we're very lucky. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us.
You're welcome.
I'm sure that's massively inspirational. There you are. Peter's giving you some advice about that picture. Have it dry.
Oh yeah, yes, I should. While I've got it off the wall, I need to take all those rusty nails out of the back and have someone sort it out for me. Absolutely. That's a good idea. Maybe that's what I should do.
Well, you've got Bev on the next page to you on the magazine, remember?
Yes, there you go.
So there you are. You can have a quick look and then have a quick word with Bev. Yeah. And I'm sure she'll sort that out for you. But no, thank you so much. It's been really inspiring and really, really well done for, really transforming your business during a really difficult time. I think that's very inspirational for everybody to show, nothing's the end.
No, I mean, I've been enjoying it, really, in that sense. I always like a challenge.
And we just have to keep on keeping on, don't we?
Yes, yes.
No, a virus may emerge. A virus, Annie? I don't know. Always worrying. So thank you so much. So we'll say goodbye for now. And tomorrow I will be live broadcasting from the gallery in Hastings, hoping, fingers and toes, everything crossed, that they have a good Wi-Fi signal. If I don't appear, you'll all know it's because the Wi-Fi signal wasn't good enough and we couldn't get online. But I've been talking to them and I'm hoping that it's all going to be fine. And if not, I'll just be live on Facebook. So if you don't find me on here tomorrow at 5:30, hop over to Facebook, because it'll be just down to the Wi-Fi signal. But yeah, I'm hoping, and then we can show you all about the gallery there, so everyone can see our lovely gallery in the hotel. And also we're going to be talking about a tribe and what the importance of being part of a community. And I think these broadcasts are doing the job for me, really. But yeah, thank you. And thank you, Suzanne, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thanks everyone. Thanks, Lesley.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Take care.